Hi, I'm Jesper from Jesper Makes. One day my wife asked me to do something meaningful in my workshop, one being cleaning up the mess and two, make her a coffee table. So I figured why not do both at the same time, and this video is all about making a beautiful pallet coffee table from all the pallet blocks I had laying on my floor from pallet dismantling. I looked on YouTube for pallet blocks coffee table, and there was only one video with the subject with 13 views on it, and this guy's take on it was not quite what I was thinking about, so I'll just dive in and try some stupid ideas. I will share all my mistakes, and trust me, I make a lot, so hang on. I wanted to use all different kinds of wood and also want a random end grain and face grain facing up. This can go wrong in so many ways, but more insight on that later. The blocks have been sitting in my shop for about a year, so they are pretty dry, but some of them are loaded with resin, which would cause issues later. My plan is to start up by gluing all the blocks together, so I'm starting out by making a big puzzle out of the different blocks that apparently came from as exotic places such as China, South Africa, Turkey, Canada, USA, Ukraine, Sweden, and many other sponsors to this table. This is going to be a complicated glue up, and I'm trying to decomplicate it a bit by gluing the two long sides first. That will make it possible to add some clamping pressure from all sides, while the blocks stay in shape.
Go.
All the blocks are different sizes, and the job now is to end up with a massive wood block. After gluing the end pieces, it's time to glue it all together. The opening time of my wood glue is about half an hour, but the temperature is high and there's a lot of sides to glue together, so I'm working as fast as I can. One of the questions I always get from non-woodworkers about wood glue is it strong enough to just glue wood together, and don't you need screws and nails to hold it together also? If you're wondering about this too, the answer is coming up short. The next day I'm very excited to see the result, and the glue up worked out as planned. The glue alone makes this tabletop more than stable enough, and if the blocks had been all the same size there wouldn't be all these gaps and holes between the blocks. I'm making a very simple mold for this next step. I plan to pour black epoxy resin into the cracks, gaps and nail holes of the blocks. And to stop it from leaking out from the bottom, I'm wrapping it in plastic film and duct tape. This is a deep pour epoxy resin from Entropy. If you plan to do any epoxy pours, my tips would be making sure to get the mixing ratio right and mix it way longer than you think. I'm using a paint mixer drill attachment, and even for this small bucket I'm spending on the good side of 5 minutes with the mixer running. Make sure there's not any unmixed epoxy at the bottom or along the sides of your buckets. Unmixed epoxy simply won't cure properly. And for some reason I thought the small cracks and gaps wouldn't soak up so much epoxy, but I was very wrong on that. So I ordered some bigger buckets with epoxy and waited almost a month to do the second and third pour here. This epoxy takes about 3 days to cure, and a week before you can start working on it. So while it cures, The moment of truth. Did my mold hold the epoxy inside or did it leak? There was a small leak, but not too bad. A tip, just pour a little epoxy to begin with and let it cure and close off any leaks at the bottom of the project. Then make the big pour and fill all the gaps up. I needed to flatten it and I don't have a thicknesser wide enough to run a tabletop through it, so I'll just quickly construct a jig so I can use my router to flatten it. The flattening went well, and after some sanding I decided to start the finishing already. Too soon though. My plan was to keep the rustic look of the pallet blocks, and I tried to add that with some wood burning. I burned a lot of wood for the simple reason that it protects the wood and it looks great in many cases. However, when burning an epoxy table, the epoxy will get soft again if you heat it too much too long. Don't do that. Another mistake I made here was I tried to finish the burnt and sanded tabletop with just one big layer of furniture lacquer, and it just didn't look the way I wanted it to. The burning made it look too dark with the lacquer on, and I would really like to be able to see the different kinds of wood the table is made of. After a week or so I sanded it all down again, and I mixed a cup of epoxy resin and started filling up the remaining small gaps, cracks and nail holes.
People say I need to get a little action. People say my love life is fiction. People say I wouldn't give them no satisfaction. Well, I wouldn't know, it's beyond my imagination. I keep my pants up high and my zipper closed, and people wonder why I never get rid of those awesome looking sunglasses that I got off of eBay at a special price. Anyway, you get the picture right. People love to hate a play no matter wrong or right. What I like makes no difference. As they go, get a life. I go. Yeah, I go. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, go. No matter what you people say, I'm gonna do my thing my way. No matter what you people do, I'm gonna do my thing much better than you. No matter what you say or do, oh boy, you're out of luck. It's gonna roll right off of me like water off the back of a duck.